Tamerlane, also known as Timur, was a formidable Turko-Mongol conqueror who dominated the Eurasian scene in the 14th century. His figure emerges from history as a character of extraordinary complexity and fascination. Welcome to another lived story. In the meantime, subscribe to the channel if you are passionate about these historical curiosities and leave a like on the video. Now let's start. They stood helpless, bound and submissive. 100,000 prisoners lined up under a relentless December sun. What followed was not a clash of armies, but a calculated execution. The year was 1398, and the man behind it all was Timur, known as Tamerlane, arguably the most feared conqueror of the late medieval Islamic world. By the time Timur reached the gates of Delhi, he had already left a trail of destruction in his wake from Central Asia through Afghanistan to northern India. His campaign was not just a conquest, it was a strategy of terror, and Delhi was its next victim. The Battle of Delhi began on 17th of December 1398. The army of the Delhi Sultanate, led by Sultan Nasiruddin Mahmud Tughlaq, was large but hastily assembled. Many of his soldiers fought on elephants armored with mail and spikes. According to the historian Yazdi, author of the Zafarnama, Timur neutralized this threat by loading his camels with straw, setting them on fire, and throwing them into the enemy lines, throwing the elephants into chaos. The Delhi army disintegrated. The city was left defenseless. But the massacre did not happen during the battle, it happened afterward. Tamerlane had captured over 100,000 prisoners, mostly Hindus, during his march. Fearing a revolt during the occupation of Delhi, he ordered, according to Persian sources, such as Nizam al-Din Shami and confirmed by the Arab historian Ibn Arab Shah, the execution of all prisoners in a single day. The executioners worked all night, the chains clanked, the bodies fell in heaps. No one was spared, neither the elderly, nor the women, nor the children. Ibn Arab Shah wrote, "The sword of his wrath spared neither the weak nor the strong." This was not just bloodlust, it was psychological warfare. The ladder of death sent a brutal message. Resistance meant annihilation. Tamerlane's macabre warning to the rebels when the people of Isfahan rebelled against Timur in 1387. They could not have imagined the extent of the reprisal. What began as a surrender turned into one of the most horrific massacres in medieval history, immortalized not only in chronicles but also in pyramids of human skulls. Isfahan, a prosperous and culturally vibrant city in Persia, had initially surrendered without a fight. But soon afterward, a revolt broke out. Citizens killed a detachment of the occupying troops. According to the Zafarnama of Sharaf al-Din Ali Yazdi, Timur responded with precision and ruthless determination. He ordered the massacre of the entire population. Yazdi speaks of 70,000 dead. Other chroniclers, such as Ibn Khaldun, speak of up to 200,000 victims. But it wasn't just the number of dead that shocked the Islamic world, it was the use of their remains. After the massacre, 28 towers of human skulls were erected around the city. Each tower contained hundreds, if not thousands of skulls, stacked methodically, sometimes by rank: soldiers, civilians, clerics. Timur never denied these acts. Indeed, Yazdi presents them as part of his mission to restore order through terror. His message was clear. Rebellion would lead not to punishment, but to oblivion. They believed his word. They surrendered. He promised that no blood would be shed, but they did not understand what Tamerlane really meant by those words. In 1400, during the siege of Sivas, ancient Sebasta in central Anatolia, one of the most horrific betrayals of medieval warfare took place. 3,000 soldiers were buried alive by Timur's forces. Sivas was under the control of the Aretinid Emirate, allied with the Ottomans and defended by a Turkmen garrison loyal to the Mamluk Sultan. After a short siege, the defenders surrendered on the condition that their lives be spared. Tamerlane, according to the Zafarnama, promised that he would not shed blood. He kept his promise, but in a diabolical way. He ordered that the 3,000 soldiers be buried alive. They were thrown into specially dug trenches, then covered with earth while they were still alive. It was not just an act of punishment. It was a strategic message to other Anatolian cities. Submission did not guarantee mercy. The terror of Sivas spread rapidly, and many cities chose to surrender without a fight. Timur's psychological warfare was often more devastating than his physical destruction. His campaigns were not wars of mere conquest, but calculated displays of terror, etched in fire and bone. Cities were not simply conquered, they were obliterated. His rule broke all resistance, but at a price that still chills the pages of history. Tamerlane's campaigns cannot be understood merely as territorial conquests or imperial ambitions. They were, rather, calculated manifestations of terror and psychological domination. Every act of violence, from the beheading of defenseless prisoners to the pyramids of skulls to the horror of soldiers buried alive, sent a precise message. Resistance would not simply be punished, but annihilated in its essence. The very idea of rebellion was to become unthinkable. In this sense, Tamerlane built not just a geographical empire, but an empire of fear, where the memory of pain outlived his own conquests. His use of cruelty was not casual, nor the result of uncontrolled bloodthirsty impulses. It was systematic, studied, and perfectly integrated into his government strategy. In Isfahan, Delhi, Sivas, the victims were not only the bodies of men, women, and children, but also the moral and cultural structures of the peoples who dared to oppose him. Cities were not simply defeated, they were stripped of their dignity, their history, their very humanity. Tamerlane understood a principle as ruthless as it is effective. Terror is a form of communication. His actions were not only aimed at victory on the field, but at building a legend that would precede his army and paralyze the enemy before the battle even began. And he succeeded. Even today, centuries later, his name evokes images of destruction, suffering, and unimaginable brutality. That's all for today. And what do you think of Tamerlane? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe if you're new and you're passionate about these historical curiosities. See you next time. Bye.